The morning light filtered softly through the blinds, casting golden stripes across the hardwood floor of our tiny third-floor apartment. The kettle hissed gently on the stove, the smell of freshly brewed coffee hanging in the air like comfort. This place wasn't fancy. Chipped paint on the window frame, a squeaky bathroom door, and furniture we collected over the years. But it was home. It felt safe, warm, familiar, and for a while, it felt like love lived in the air itself. I believed we were okay. I believed we were solid. Natalie was still asleep in the bedroom. I could hear her soft breathing, wrapped in the same oversized hoodie she stole from me years ago and never gave back. It was one of those rare mornings where time moved slow, where nothing felt urgent, but in my mind, something was urgent. I had just 2 weeks to pull off a surprise birthday party I'd been planning for her. I wanted it to be perfect, not just pretty or fun, perfect, because lately Natalie had seemed off, distant, as if she was carrying the weight of something she hadn't said out loud. She'd been struggling with her job. The boutique cut her hours again, and she kept comparing herself to her friends, all of whom had better apartments, better salaries, and, in her eyes, better lives. I'd hold her when she cried at night and tell her none of that mattered, but I could see the pressure slowly dimming her spark. That's why I wanted her birthday to feel different, like a reset button. I didn't just want to make her happy. I wanted to make her feel loved again. That's when I reached out to one person I knew she still trusted completely. Her younger sister, Brooke. Brooke was sharp, honest, and had always been Natalie's emotional compass. They didn't always agree, but Natalie listened to her and trusted her in a way she rarely trusted anyone else. I sent her a message. Need help planning something special for Nat. Can you talk? She replied almost instantly. Let's meet at Ava's housewarming. Low-key. No suspicion. That night, the house was packed with people I barely knew. The kind of artsy, half-drunken crowd where everyone had a camera or a podcast. Brooke and I found a quiet spot on the couch, tucked near a window. We leaned in close, scrolling through venues on her phone, whispering about themes, colors, food options. She showed me a lakeside venue Natalie loved as a kid, and I remember smiling, thinking, this is it. This is going to blow her away. We laughed quietly, planning every detail. We looked like two people conspiring, which, in a way, we were, but for something good, something kind. But someone else was watching. Someone who didn't know the context. Someone who didn't care to ask. Someone who took a photo, a poorly timed photo, of Brooke and me laughing together on that couch. Our heads close. Smiling. Innocent, but intimate in the wrong angle. That one frozen moment, that single frame, would soon become the spark that burned everything down. I didn't know that photo had already been sent. I didn't know it had arrived in Natalie's inbox with a snide message. Thought you should know what your boyfriend is doing when you're not around. At 10:07 p.m., I walked to the door of our apartment, still high on excitement about the plans. I had leftover cupcakes in hand, a sticky note on my phone with Brooke's finalized vendor list, and a stupid, genuine smile on my face. I expected music, laughter, maybe Natalie curled up in bed, watching one of her old shows. I was ready to kiss her forehead and pretend like I hadn't just spent the evening plotting the best surprise of her life. Instead, I walked into silence. Thick, angry silence. She was standing in the living room, arms crossed, eyes already red. The moment our eyes met, I knew something had shifted. She didn't say anything at first, just stood there, still, arms folded tightly across her chest like armor. The moment I stepped into the apartment, I could feel it, the tension thick in the air, like humidity before a storm. Her eyes were puffy, but hard. She wasn't crying. She was angry and hurt and prepared for a fight. I looked down, saw the printed photo in her hand, and that's when the confusion hit me like cold water. "What is this?" she asked, her voice brittle, sharp. No warmth, no hesitation. I blinked, taking in the image. It was the one from Ava's party. Brooke and me, sitting close on a couch, our heads tilted toward each other, mid-laugh. A photo that meant nothing. But in Natalie's hands, it had been twisted into evidence. "It's not what you think," I said quietly, instantly knowing how cliché that sounded, even though it was a truth. My voice cracked, and I hated that it did, because nothing about that night had been wrong. But now, nothing I said would sound right. She scoffed, stepping back like I was something rotten. Of course it's not, she said, mocking my tone. You just happen to be laughing with my sister, in secret, while lying to my face for days. Do you think I'm stupid? I tried to explain about the party plans, the venue search, the surprise. I reached for my phone, showing her text between me and Brooke, our messages full of decoration ideas and cake designs. But she didn't even look. She had already made up her mind. You two have been meeting behind my back. Whispering. Planning something? Sure. A surprise party? Really? That's the story you're going with. My stomach twisted. This wasn't Natalie. At least not the version I knew. This wasn't the girl who once danced barefoot in the kitchen with me at midnight, who'd cried in my arms when her job cut her hours. This was someone else. Someone I didn't recognize. But maybe the truth was, this was who she'd been becoming all along, and I just didn't want to see it. Natalie, I said calmly, I would never do that to you. You know me. She laughed then. Bitter. Cold. No. Apparently I don't. I watched as she walked into the bedroom and came back with duffel bag already packed. That's when I realized this wasn't just an argument. She had already decided. She wasn't looking for answers. She was looking for an exit. I'm staying at Mel's, she said, brushing past me. I need space. And don't text me. Don't call me. And if Brooke calls, tell her she's dead to me too. She slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. And just like that, she was gone. For 2 days, I didn't leave the apartment. I didn't sleep, didn't eat, just kept replaying the conversation in my head, wondering if I'd said something wrong or not enough. I reread the text threads with Brooke, listened to the voice notes. None of it was inappropriate. None of it even hinted at something romantic. But logic didn't matter anymore. Natalie wasn't looking for the truth. She was looking for a reason, any reason, to believe the worst. I finally called Brooke. She answered on the first ring, already sounding panicked. She's not talking to me, she said. What happened? I told her everything. Brooke went quiet for a long moment. Then, this doesn't make sense. She knows I'd never do that to her. And you're the only person who's ever treated her like she mattered. But things were already spiraling. That same night, I started getting strange messages. Mutual friends texting vague things like, rough night, or damn man, really didn't expect that from you. One of them even said, guess the nice guy act finally cracked. It didn't take long to find out why. Natalie had started posting cryptic Instagram stories, subtweets, sad song lyrics, all wrapped in pain and passive aggression. She didn't name me, but she didn't have to. Enough people knew we'd been together. Enough people wanted something messy to gossip about. Suddenly, I was the cheater. And Brooke, she was the sister who betrayed her own blood. All because of a photo. All because of a misunderstanding that Natalie had chosen to believe. I wanted to scream, to tell my side, to defend myself. But I didn't, because I still loved her. And some part of me thought, maybe if I gave her space, she'd calm down. She'd see the truth. She'd come back. But what I didn't know was that she wasn't done yet. Not even close. The morning after Natalie stormed out of the party, the apartment felt like a stranger's home. Decorations still hung from the ceiling, sagging under their own weight. Half-cut cake sat untouched on the kitchen counter. The playlist I had made for her birthday was still playing softly in the background, almost mocking me with every cheerful song. What was supposed to be a celebration had turned into a battlefield, and I didn't even know which war I was fighting anymore. I spent hours replaying everything in my mind. Every message exchanged with Brooke, every small decision made in secret to plan this surprise. None of it was meant to hurt Natalie. None of it even hinted at betrayal. But still, somehow, she had seen only one thing: me and her sister together, close, laughing, whispering. And just like that, every good intention was twisted into something cruel in her eyes. Brooke hadn't gone home that night either. She had stayed in her room, devastated. When I finally knocked, her voice was shaky, almost broken. "She won't answer my calls," she said. "I tried explaining, but she doesn't want to hear it. She thinks I stole you." "You didn't," I said, exhausted. "You helped me give her something beautiful." Brooke shook her head. "And now it's destroyed everything." Outside, the world moved on. Buses still ran. People still laughed at cafes. The sun still rose. But inside our little world, time had stopped. Natalie's absence filled the apartment like a storm cloud. The weight of her anger, her pain, her silence. It all sat on my chest like something I couldn't shake off. Then came the silence. No calls. No texts. Not even a message to say she was okay. She just disappeared. Emotionally, physically, gone. I was left staring at the door, half hoping it would swing open and she'd laugh. Call a misunderstanding, rush into my arms. But she didn't. And every passing hour turned that hope into something sharp. When she finally reappeared, it wasn't at home. It was online. A single photo appeared on her profile. It was a candid from the party, me and Brooke, standing too close, smiling at each other, but taken from an angle that made it look like something else. Something secret. Something intimate. The caption was cold. Sometimes the ones closest to you are the ones you never really knew. Thousands of people saw it. Comments poured in. Sympathy. Judgment. Speculation. None of them knew the truth, but they didn't need it. They had the story Natalie gave them. And in their eyes, I was a villain. Brooke's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. "They're calling me names," she whispered. "They're saying I'm disgusting, that I broke my sister's heart." I wanted to scream, to post screenshots, voice notes, proof that it was all a mistake, that everything I did was for Natalie, but I didn't, because somehow, deep down, I still believed she'd come back, that she'd realize the truth without me having to scream it into the void. But that belief shattered when I saw the next post. Natalie was smiling, arm in arm, with Ethan, her ex, the same Ethan who once cheated on her, who lied, who disappeared when she needed him most, the man who was the reason she couldn't trust anyone, now suddenly reappearing as her comfort, her escape, her revenge. Her caption was simple. "Healing is remembering who you were before the hurt." My heart sank. It wasn't just heartbreak anymore. It was betrayal from every angle. It didn't matter that I never crossed any line. It didn't matter that I still loved her. In her story, I had already been replaced. That night, I sat alone in the living room. The candle she loved still stood on the shelf. The Polaroids from our road trips still clung to the wall. The blanket we used to share was still folded on the couch. Everything was still here, except her, except us. Brooke came in, quietly, holding her phone. She looked pale. "I think I need to leave," she said. I looked at her, confused. "I can't stay here," she whispered. "It's not fair either of us. No matter how much we explain, people believe what they want to believe. And I don't want to make things worse for you." I didn't stop her, because she was right. This wasn't her fault. And it wasn't mine. But we were both bleeding, because someone else saw a ghost in a room full of light. The days after Natalie's post felt like a slow suffocation. Everywhere I turned, her shadow followed. In whispers on the street, passive-aggressive DMs. Even friends who once shared inside jokes now avoided eye contact. I wasn't just losing her anymore. I was losing my own name, my dignity. The truth, it seemed, didn't matter as much as the story she chose to tell. Brooke had left that morning. She didn't take much, just a small duffel bag and her headphones. She didn't cry, didn't explain. She just whispered. Maybe things need space to breathe, and closed the door behind her. The apartment was truly empty now. The silence had never felt so loud. I avoided social media. I avoided people. I even avoided mirrors. I couldn't bear to look at myself. Not because I was guilty, but because I didn't know who I was to her anymore. The man she loved, or the lies she convinced herself of. Then, 3 days later, Brooke messaged me. Just one line. She wants to meet. She's asking for you. I didn't reply right away. My hands trembled. Was this a trap? A final confrontation? Or a chance to fix what was broken? I agreed to meet, not because I expected forgiveness or understanding, but because I needed answers. I needed to see if the woman I loved still existed under all the pain, anger, and pride. We met at a quiet coffee shop on the edge of the city. The kind of place where no one would recognize us, where we could be two strangers again, stripped of history, noise, and blame. When she walked in, my breath caught in my chest. She looked different. Not physically, but emotionally. Softer somehow. Fragile in a way she had never let herself be before. Her eyes, though tired, didn't carry hate, just regret. She sat down across from me. We didn't speak for a long moment. Finally, she said, "I've made a mess, haven't I?" I didn't answer. I waited. She looked down at her hands. "I saw you and Brooke together. The way you laughed with her, the way you whispered. I didn't ask questions. I didn't even wait to hear you out. I just assumed the worst." Her voice cracked. I didn't want to be hurt again. And I thought, if I got angry first, it wouldn't feel like betrayal. It would feel like control. That's what it was about? I asked, my voice low. Control? "No," she said quickly. "It was about fear, about losing you, about not being enough. And when I saw that picture, I thought I had proof. I thought you'd replace me with my own sister." I leaned forward, struggling to hold back everything that had built up. "You could have asked me. Natalie, you knew I was planning something. You felt it. I was never distant. I was never cold. I was building something for you, something beautiful. And instead of trusting me, you tore it down." She looked like she'd been punched in the chest. Her shoulders sagged. Her lips parted slightly, like she had no defense left. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I don't even know how to explain the way my mind spiraled. I pushed away the only two people who were actually thinking about me. I looked away. And then you posted that picture. You let the world turn me into a villain. She flinched. "I know. I can't take that back." "Why, Ethan?" I asked, finally voicing the question that had haunted me since I saw the photo. Of all people, why go back to him? She blinked. Her voice was barely audible. "Because I wanted someone who already broke me. So if he did it again, it wouldn't hurt." That honesty cut deep. "And what about me?" I asked. "The one person who never hurt you?" "I didn't think I deserved you anymore," she admitted. And once the lie started, I didn't know how to stop it. We sat in silence again, the weight of her words sinking between us. This wasn't a romantic reunion. This was two people picking through the wreckage of something that had once meant everything. "I miss you," she said, "but I don't expect anything." I looked at her for a long time, then said, "Some things break in ways that can't be repaired. Not because we don't want them, but because the pieces no longer fit." A tear rolled down her cheek, and this time she didn't wipe it away. "I'll carry this regret," she whispered, "for a long time." I nodded. "So will I." As we left the cafe, we didn't hug. We didn't hold hands. We didn't promise to meet again. We just looked at each other, really looked, and walked in opposite directions. No anger, no final words, just silence and the understanding that sometimes love ends not with hate but with truth. The courtroom was nearly empty now. The echo of the gavel still rang in my ears like the aftermath of a thunderstorm. As I stepped out into the hallway, I wasn't filled with triumph, just exhaustion. A hollow silence followed every footstep as I walked away from the woman who, just weeks ago, I thought I'd spend forever with. Natalie stood in the courtroom doorway, flanked by her parents. Roberto's face was stiff with rage. Diana looked like she was forcing herself not to speak. And Natalie, she looked small, not in stature, but in presence, like all her anger and bravado had drained out of her and left behind someone who couldn't believe the consequences were real. She whispered, "You've turned my own sister against me. You destroyed my family. Now I'm in debt. How could you?" I turned to her slowly, not with anger, but calm resolve. The kind you earn through pain. "No, Natalie. You turned your sister against you when you lied to her and about her. You destroyed your family by making them pick sides in a war you started. And you're in debt because of the choices you made. Not me. Brooke stood beside me like a silent pillar of strength. Her support had never wavered, even when her own family turned on her. You cost him everything, she said to her sister, because you couldn't wait 5 minutes to ask what was going on. We were planning something beautiful for you. Natalie looked away, eyes stinging. It's not fair, she mumbled. Couples work through mistakes. I paused, then gave her the final truth, the one I hoped would stay with her. It wasn't a mistake, Natalie. It was a series of choices. You chose to believe a photo over 3 years of trust. You chose to destroy property, call my employer, accuse me of things I didn't do, and then try to make your actions my fault. That's not a mistake. That's a demolition. Rebuilding from the rubble. The days that followed weren't easy. The judgment granted me $8,500 for damages, lost wages, and legal costs, but the money never came. Natalie had 60 days to pay. I didn't hold my breath. I moved in with my brother 2 hours away, sleeping on his pull-out couch surrounded by boxes that used to belong in the life I was trying to build. Every now and then, I'd catch myself glancing at the clock, expecting Natalie to come home from work, only to remember that home wasn't ours anymore, and she wasn't someone I loved anymore. I found a job, a small IT firm. Less money, no benefits at first, but it was a start. I kept my head down, worked hard, and did everything to rebuild my name. Brooke, meanwhile, continued defending the truth. She didn't let Natalie rewrite the story. She stood up to her parents, to mutual friends, to social media posts. She became the one voice refusing to let lies bury what really happened. Sometimes people asked if Brooke and I were dating now. We weren't. Not then. Maybe not ever. There was too much healing to do, and we both needed time. But the connection we shared, the understanding born from shared fallout, was strong. She was the only one who didn't abandon me when everything collapsed. The fallout no one sees. The hardest part wasn't losing the apartment or my job. It was watching 5 years of hard work vanish because of a lie. My mentor, once my biggest advocate, wouldn't return my calls. Other companies were hesitant to hire someone whose name had been dragged into public allegations. Even though I'd been cleared, the damage was already done. I was now the guy with baggage. I kept thinking about the surprise party, the guest list, the cake design, the decorations that sat unopened in a box. I'd wanted to give her joy. I'd wanted to remind her how loved she was. Instead, I got labeled a monster, a liar, a cheater. The irony? I still remember the cake flavor. Lemon lavender. Her favorite. Letting go. One day, a check arrived in the mail. $8,500. No return address. Just call number scrawled on the top right corner. I stared at it for hours before depositing it. Not because I was happy to get the money, but because that check was proof. Proof that even Natalie had to face what she'd done. I never responded. Didn't call her. Didn't text. That chapter was closed. Months passed. My savings grew again. I was even promoted. Still on my brother's couch. But I was saving toward a place of my own. I'd gone from planning a surprise party to rebuilding my life from ash. The emotional scars were real. Some days I'd still feel anger. Some nights I'd dream of that night. The bathtub running. Laptop ruined. Her voice screaming accusations I couldn't stop. But slowly the pain faded. And in its place came something stronger, clarity. Final reflections. They say tragedy reveals character. And they're right. In less than 2 hours, Natalie showed me who she really was. And it took me losing everything to finally see it. If you're in a relationship where love hinges on blind accusations and emotional outbursts, that's not love. That's control. If someone can torture your life over a photo, they were never looking at the full picture. As I rebuild, I hold on to one thing. The truth survives. Lies might move faster, destroy quicker. But the truth is the only thing left standing when the smoke clears. And in the end, I didn't lose everything. I lost someone who never truly knew me, and gained the freedom to finally live without fear of what 5 minutes of misunderstanding could do. Keycap 1. If your partner betrayed you like this, would you forgive them or walk away forever? Keycap 2. Do you think betrayal hurts more when it comes from a partner or a family member? This story left me speechless. What would you do if this happened to you? Broken heart. Backhand index pointing down, share your thoughts in the comments.